Welcome to Intellicide, where we discuss who killed intelligence and murdered common sense. I'm your co-host Anthony, and my other co-host is Kyle. And today we'll be talking a variety of subjects, including Iran, AI agents, and my new book. So let's
Right.
start off with Iran.
Um,
What do you think about this madness, sir?
well, it is predictable. So the whole thing's so messed up. The Straits of Hormuz are basically closed now, and there's nothing that he can do to make it reopen because he can't make people go through it who don't feel safe.
Right,
And that's the whole thing. All Iran has to do, they don't have to control the Straits of Hormuz. All they have to do is make it unsafe
right.
to go through.
Yep,
And insurance companies won't insure the ships and they won't be able to go through because you're talking like you take out one tanker that's billions of dollars in losses
right.
and they're not going to want to absorb that. So,
Well, not only that, I mean, then if you cause an oil slick or oil spill in the strait, that can also provide an element of danger where that can be, burned, causing, damage to other ships and hazardous conditions for the crew members.
yeah,
So, you got to consider that too. I think it's obvious to me, and I don't know about anyone else. There are many Trump supporters that have stated he's playing, three-dimensional chess. He's, this strategist or whatever, but
there's
the
no plan.
timing, no, it's
Yeah.
not. And
You know
and
what the
and this
difference
show,
between there's a joke going around. You know what the difference between Vietnam and Iran is?
no.
Trump had a plan to get out of Vietnam
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah.
because
I,
it's
I mean,
true.
you see that with the prices of gas, oil increasing. I
Hmm.
want to say before this conflict, it was price of oil per barrel was under $60.
Yeah,
I think it was around there, and now it's increased or whatever.
over a
Because
hundred.
right, millions of barrels a day go through the strait.
Hmm.
Um, we don't have the reserves in stock
Nope.
to mitigate this crisis, the self-imposed crisis.
Yeah.
Um,
This is, you know, broader picture. This is the problem with having an administration that surrounds itself, that values loyalty over competence and
mhm.
surrounds itself with yes men,
Right.
because he was emboldened by his success in Venezuela, where he was able to kidnap the leader of Venezuela,
Hmm.
go in and out. That was a very successful operation. He was
Right.
emboldened by that, and he got cocky. And
Hmm.
I think his yes men around him, he was asking for, hey, can we take Iran? What do you think we? Yes, sir. Nobody wanted to tell him no. So
Right.
he was made to believe this was going to be easier than it really was. Nobody was willing to contradict him. He really thought this was going to be like Venezuela. He was going to be in, out, it'd be over. And now we're stuck in this thing for who knows how long. The consequences could last who knows how long because
Well, right. I look at it this way, and I want to know what your thoughts on it are. So over the years, there had been a movement of students and the public seeking to overthrow the theocracy in
hmm.
Iran.
Yeah.
And it was an organic thing that we helped with the sanctions and whatever else.
Hmm.
Um, and now I'm not so sure that feeling is there. I think that there are some that still, hey, they want to, see the theocracy replaced, but I don't believe that, they're wholeheartedly behind it now. That
Well,
could be
yeah.
me. I think it's damaged that movement.
There is a world of difference between a democratically elected government in Iran that
Mhm,
represents the people,
mhm.
and a U.S. installed puppet,
Right.
and I think they see the difference in that. They don't want a U.S. installed puppet anymore. then Venezuela wanted that, you know.
Right.
Um, at the end of the day, it's benefiting like corporations that
Hmm.
are multinational corporations anyway,
Hmm.
with, international shareholders. How does this benefit us?
Right.
At the end of the day, that's what a lot of this comes down to. How does our government's actions representing our best interests
No,
as a
I don't think
people?
so.
No,
No.
it's not anymore. Increasingly less so. You know, the
Right.
the corporations that they do represent, increasingly are disconnected from us and from, the people in the countries that they, you know, exploit.
Well, right. One of the things that we talked about the corporate culture before, people used to look at their jobs that it was a work family, that you cared
Mm-hmm.
about the people that you worked next to, you had relationships with them, you could rise up, say, from being a janitor to potentially the CEO at a lot of corporations. I think those days are long gone.
I mean, it's the value of what you're talking about is apparent nowadays to people who are paying attention. The disconnection of the CEOs and the C-suite class from the
Mhm.
rest of the workers is only really hurting um, the economy overall.
Mhm.
But there are a few companies left. Like there's a company that I know of that I used to work at where the CEO, who is a billionaire CEO, would go into the lunchroom and sit down with regular employees
Mhm.
and just sit down, have lunch with them, talk to them, find out how they're doing. And that kind of connection is extremely rare, though. That kind of
Right.
willingness, the boss to go in and see how the employees are doing,
Right.
um, increasingly rare these days. But like you said, it's good for the overall business because, the point of the business is to, you know, generate wealth that, supports everybody, not just the investors. The whole point of the business is to produce a product or service that benefits the customers while at the same time providing a living for the employees.
Right.
Um, and if it's not doing that, if it's failing to do any of those things, then what's the point? If it's not serving the customers, if it's not providing for the employees, why is that business allowed to exist?
Yeah, I hear you. It's apparent to me that the profits that these companies make, because the stock market, they want to see job cuts, they want to see leaner workforces,
Hmm.
salaries, etc., even though they may be making billions
Hmm.
in profit. At, at what point do you say this is not good? This cutting the workforce by 25% is not necessarily good for the
Yeah.
overall economy, because they cut like this prior year. I've been laid off since August.
Hmm.
Um, and I was told that it was due to changing economic conditions. Those conditions hadn't really started yet. It was just what may be coming.
Well, it's a
They
self-fulfilling prophecy too, right?
exactly.
They lay off thousands of people. Suddenly the economy's worse because there's less people with incomes, less
Right.
people out there buying, less consumers, buying goods. It's a self-fulfilling
Right.
circular death spiral.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, I don't see what the end of this Iran conflict. I don't see that coming around anytime soon, because now we're talking about putting troops on the ground. Uh,
Hmm.
no one who argued against this being an invasion before, once those boots hit the ground, you can't say that this isn't an invasion.
Oh,
Uh,
right. Yeah.
so you have that going. You
Well, what's
have
crazy
the
to me, and this is just, I just want to say this about Iran. This is what's insane to me, is
uh,
that the Constitution very clearly makes it the purview of Congress to declare war. Yet
Mm,
through all these war power resolutions over the years, they've ceded so much of their power that the reality today is that the president can choose to go to war and Congress has to try to stop him after the fact. And right now, they just had a vote yesterday
yeah.
where they failed to stop. They had a war powers resolution that was intended
Hmm.
to stop his invasion of Iran, and it failed. So
Right.
Congress now is in a position where they have to come in after the fact and try to stop a president, and they can be, if enough people choose to, they can stop Congress from stopping him, which means he's
Right.
got unlimited control. And you know, they want more money for it. And this is where, the public, I think, really needs to get behind the Democrats who are refusing to fund DHS, because this is really their only power at this
Hmm.
point, is the power of the
Hmm.
purse to say, you know what? No, I'm not going to vote for any more money until you start obeying the law, start
Right.
obeying the Constitution. That's their
Right.
only power, and they need to use it. And if people are
Well,
sitting there saying, "Oh, well, look, it's impossible to fly, the TSA is shut down, whatever," so be it. Shut the whole damn
well,
thing down. If they're
well,
not going to obey the
right.
law, shut it all down.
So look at how things are going. They funded ICE
Right.
for immigration.
Let them start taking money out of ICE's budget to fund the rest of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly. They could take the money from ICE to
Hmm.
help TSA. They did
Yeah.
that
The
earlier
executive
last
wants to
year.
use the money they've given the executive. He wants to, he thinks that he has the power of the purse, right? Like whatever they give to him, he can choose to spend it on something else. Well, okay, then their only power is to say, okay, we're not giving you another red cent. Use the money we've given you already,
Right. But that's what
and
I'm
then
saying.
it's
They
all on him, you
they
know?
allocated funds last year that they took from one uh purpose. They
Hmm.
reallocated it to what they wanted to do. They could do
Yeah.
the same from ICE, put that towards TSA, shorten some of these travel times. They're talking about now you have to get to the airport 3 to 4 hours earlier at certain locations.
Yeah.
That's ludicrous to say, hey, I got a flight at 6 a.m. Now, probably not that kind of flight. TSA doesn't get there that early. I don't know if most people don't, know that. But let's say your flight left at 11. I don't want to get to the airport at say 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. to get on a flight at 11. You have to get there
Yeah.
at 7. That's crazy.
And at the same time, and I don't want to, I'm going to be this person. But the attack on Iran has made the world more dangerous in more ways than one. Because I don't know about
Mhm.
you, but I'm old enough to remember a time when there were people who were hijacking planes or bombing planes and things like
Right.
that. And
Yeah.
what do you think the situation is when TSA is underfunded and overworked?
Yeah.
And, there could be it, in my mind, it makes flying overall less safe,
Hmm.
and this is a result of the priorities of this administration. They chose to do this. They chose to go into Iran. He
Yep.
wanted to use tariffs as a cudgel around the world. He thought he could make everyone bend the knee to him.
Right.
Um,
Well, so that's another point. We this isolationist type mentality. Now, the US has benefited greatly over its years being separated from, other
mhm.
continents,
Geographically.
right. You got the Atlantic on the east, you got the Pacific on the west. So we've benefited greatly from that. But by no means are we alone on this planet. And so, right, we started this conflict with Iran. Then it's not going the way that you want to. So now you try to get your allies who you've beat over the head, you've talked about endlessly,
You've
you
insulted endlessly.
right,
Yeah.
like you said, you've thrown tariffs around like a cudgel, and
Hmm.
then you say, hey, but I need you to help me. You don't treat friends like that.
Right. Nobody's going to want to help you after you've
Right.
abused them like that.
Exactly.
And
I,
and
I
that's
can't
he
spit in
he
your face
feels
and
like
then say, hey,
people.
can you help me out here?
Yeah, it's the result of having basically an 80-year-old spoiled child as the president who feels like everyone around him owes him loyalty just because of who he is, not because of how he treats them. And it's the thing, like his whole life he's been, because he's most of the people he interacts with probably work for him. And so his whole mentality is I can treat you any way I want, and you have to be nice to me because
Right.
you need me. But that's not true for other world leaders, and
Right.
he doesn't know what's going on. I've heard, like, he's very personable in person. Like, he can be very nice to your face, but
Hmm.
we've seen that his behavior is he's not that way behind people's backs. He can
Right.
be nice to your face, but the minute you're gone, he's talking about you behind your back. You know it.
Right. Yeah.
So
Well,
it's,
I mean, he doesn't even have to. He talked about Zoran Mandani
oh yeah.
like crazy.
Hmm.
And then Zoran wins the mayoral election and he
Yep.
shows up at the White House and
And
he
Trump's
saw,
all smiles and handshake.
yes.
Yeah,
Now listen, I don't know about you, but tough guys, true tough guys, don't have to put on that kind of theater. That's theater, y'all.
it is. This whole administration is theater. This is all theater as government. And that's the whole thing. It's why you got like Fox News personalities, and it's government led by a TV personality.
Right,
He grabbed other TV, the Secretary of Defense, who wants to call himself Secretary of War, which was a red flag in the first place,
right,
you know,
right.
um, that
Yeah, the War
it
Department.
yeah, it's all theater, and
Yeah,
his whole performative nonsense when he called the generals in and he tried to talk to the generals and he thought he was going to have like a Fox News type rally and the generals were going to applaud him and cheer for him and they all sat there stone faced because
right.
those
Well,
are
but think about that too, though. We've had a lot of resignations. We've had a lot of people that have
Mhm.
been forced out.
Speaking of,
Uh,
yeah,
and so he's getting the people that he wants to be the yes men in the military. And I think that's just as bad because
it is.
let's for hypothetical purposes. Let's say, hey, we get to the end of 2027 or and 2028 and the election's coming up and he says, "Hey, I'm not going anywhere. Hey,
Right,
military, get out there on them streets, block any voting. I'm staying or whatever." If he has
right.
his people in place, if he has that level of
Loyalties
support
in
in the
place. Yeah.
military, yeah. And I know it might seem like a stretch or
Hmm.
whatever, but as fanatical as his base has been in supporting him, you know,
Yeah.
they are willing to stomach so much. I think they'd be willing to stomach that. Oh no, let them, just stay in place. And,
Yeah.
and at that
Oh
point,
yeah,
I'm
I
like,
agree. Yeah. His the 30% that still support him, I think they would be okay with anything that he did, including that. Well, I find it interesting though that the guy who was in charge of saying whether or not Iran was a real threat was his
mm,
name, Joe Kent.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, I read about
who
that.
just resigned this week. He was
Yep.
a Trump loyalist. He was a diehard MAGA. And
Hmm.
this was the straw that broke the camel's back for him. He resigned in his resignation letter, basically threw them all under the bus and said Iran was no threat to us. Everything they've
Right.
said is a lie, you
Right.
know. And this is from a loyalist. This isn't from some, holdover Democrat. This guy was MAGA all the way, and this was too much for him. So,
See, I kind of have a problem with that
mhm,
because you don't have to be an insider to see how much he's, disregarded his promises, what he said during the election and painted Kamala as the warmonger, and if you vote for her, it's gonna be chaos. That's what we have now.
yeah,
Everything that you've described for her is what you're doing.
yeah.
So I mean, listen, I'm glad his eyes are opened now. But again, you shouldn't have to be a loyalist. You shouldn't have to be the insider to say, well, he said this, but X is happening.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, if it's the problem with having a country that's, been defunding education for years and, you know, so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
As a matter of fact, one last point. And I don't know if you watch the NFL or not.
a little bit. I
NFL,
mean,
NBA. So there's been instances of coaches who have been hired straight from the booth, where hey, you're a sideline reporter, you're an analyst or whatever, and now we're going to hire you as a head coach.
Really?
Yes, that's happened a couple of times. For Detroit, Matt Millen was hired from the broadcast booth to be the GM of the Lions. So
Hmm.
most of those instances have been failures. I mean, they haven't succeeded at all. I think JJ Redick now, the coach of the Lakers, he's having a little bit of turnaround, but again, he has some superstar power on his roster that is kind of helping him out. But
Right.
my point being, that's what President Trump has done with his cabinet, with these critical positions where Pete Hegseth,
Hmm.
he, I mean, yes, you were in the military. I think his highest rank was a captain or major, maybe.
Hmm.
I, and for anybody that doesn't know, that's a middle rank. That like
Right.
you didn't
He is
like
a DEI hire. They hired him because he was a loyalist, not because he's
right,
competent. I mean, there were
right.
so many other people who were so much more qualified than he was, and they
Dude,
passed all of them up to get it.
he didn't work in the defense industry. He didn't have any kind of he worked for Fox News.
Yeah, yeah,
And again, uh, lieutenant colonel, maybe brigadier general. He was none of those things.
right.
And so I'm trying to, understand what was it? Was it his tough talk, on Fox News that got him hired?
Yeah, this was literally it. You have a president who's 80 years old, whose only real experience with the outside world, whose only real connection to the outside world is what he sees on TV.
All right.
So to him, Hegseth was the most qualified person he knew,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
that just says a lot about him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've kind of beat that dead horse.
Yep.
This is going to go on.
Yep.
The other thing I think worth talking about, though, is the development on AI technology, the latest and greatest. That I mean, I know people have heard of, and you've heard the word floating around out there, but AI agents
Right.
and what an AI agent is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have compared, so an AI agent is basically software you run on your machine that uses an AI in the back end to take actions, depending on how you tell it to behave and what you tell it you want it to do.
Mm-hmm.
It gives AI agency and it gives AI the ability to take actions.
Right.
And so it is. And it's extremely powerful. I'll tell you
Mm-hmm.
what, man, I've used it and it's a way to really use these AIs to do things in a very easily that used to be really hard to do. Like,
Right.
I mean, I'll just as an example, right? Like I had set one up and I had it like managing my smart home where
Mm-hmm.
it was, giving me a daily inventory and update, and it includes like, any devices that are low on battery, anything that needs to be, any duplicate devices that it might have detected, a bunch of different things that it can control. Now, I could tell it if I wanted to go ahead and do some of the things that it sees, like clean up some of the duplicates it sees and stuff like that by itself. But in my opinion, I don't want to give this thing too much agency. So I have a general rule when I deploy it that says take no actions without checking with me first.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
so it has to ask me before. It'll tell me all sorts of stuff. So it'll give me all sorts of information about it. The other thing I have it doing is giving me a daily, it sends me a daily email that so I have it basically scouring the web overnight for all these different news sources. And then it compiles for me a daily summary email of the news, includes like stocks, how the stock market is done, and even at the end of it, so it gives me an update that includes like, cybersecurity news because I work in that industry and it's,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it it tailors it to me,
Right.
customizes it for me, and then at the end of it, I have it take all the information that it learned and give me investment advice and stock
Uh-huh.
tips with it. And actually, so far, it's been pretty good with
Uh-huh.
it because it's not hard at the moment. It's saying things like invest in defense companies at the moment, which,
Right.
is it saying it's looking like it's going to be a good year for defense companies, but but yeah, I mean, this is the type of thing where there were things that were happening in cybersecurity that was making me, there is a thing called phishing, right? Where phishing, I don't know, most people aren't aware of phishing. It's where someone sends
Obviously.
you an email that is
Right.
really includes a malicious link that you click
Hmm.
on and it does something malicious, sends
Hmm.
malware to your computer, whatever. And they had created something last year called phishing as a service, where there's a package called Star.
Really?
Yeah, there's a package called Star Killer that is a phishing as a service that has
Uh-huh.
been able to like get past multi-factor authentication, all sorts of stuff that's really
Wow.
concerning. And it's one thing to have that out there where like any person could set it up and use it. That was concerning
Uh-huh.
enough. But
Uh-huh.
now the idea that you could hand that off to an AI agent who could then spend 24/7, because these things don't need to sleep or eat, just researching you or whoever, whatever target you give it to customize the phishing attempts.
Right.
In a day and age where you are trackable online through Flock Security, your
Hmm.
every move online is recorded and sold because your data is
Right.
sold. It's not really protected in a lot of ways. Um, you very easily become an easy target
Yeah.
for these phishing attempts.
Yeah. Now
I mean,
that
it can
that's
craft an email that looks like it came from your power company.
yeah.
Um, I, I mean, it's pretty concerning. I'll be honest with you. This type of thing like makes me lose sleep as a cybersecurity person. So,
Right. Yeah,
um,
I think the one thing that we as people can do is we can curtail what we put on social media. Um, Privacy settings only, associate with those people that you actually know. I know it's hard,
it is
you get connection requests from people. Oh, well, they know, this person that I know. Well,
friend of a
they could have
friend.
fell for the same scheme that you're about to do. You know, I've seen where, hey, I'm already friends with this person, and then I get another friend request from them. No, I'm not accepting it. I'm
Yeah.
not accepting
Yep.
duplicate friend requests.
It's gotten to where social media has actually gotten too dangerous in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, So,
But
speaking
go
of scams and dangers and
ahead.
things like that, I understand you're now a published author.
Yes, yes. I got a author's, a proof copy here.
They're
They're coming
coming
for
for
your
your
nest
nest
egg.
egg. Huh,
Um,
nice.
so my wife works at a bank, and she'd always come home and she'd be complaining about such and such customer got taken for, and I'm talking about large sums of money, Kyle.
Really?
13,000, 20,000, $30,000. Um, so it got me thinking about that. And I know for a lot of us, oh, I'd never be taken like that.
We'd like to think so.
Yeah, I just read an article this morning about a couple that had retired to South Carolina, and they have been taken for $500,000 in a phony investment scam. And that's what made me want to get the book out there,
Yeah,
and just talk about the stuff and the power that these scammers have a lot of times. Yes, the tools that they use, the because it's a profession. For them, it's
right.
their job. Um, it's the secrecy, the shame that people feel after they've been taken, that they don't want to talk about it. But you have to feel empowered or whatever that, hey, I don't want this to happen to anyone else. And you have to be willing to talk about how you were taken. So when someone else is faced with that same kind of scheme, they would be empowered enough to say, you know what, that sounds like, the same thing that Judy and Tony fell for. I'm not gonna do it. So
Forewarned is forearmed.
yes, exactly. So that is, the purpose of the book. I'm hoping that, people will take something from it, even if you just want to give it to a loved one, say, hey, read this before you start, you know, investing in some of these things or doing, giving your money away to strangers,
Yeah.
because one of
Yeah.
the taglines is you've earned everything you got, now protect it.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like it.
Yes,
I
sir.
look forward to reading my copy. All right.
Well, I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. Again, this day and age, like you said, the AI agents, it's tough out there,
It
and
is.
they're looking to get your money.
Yeah,
Um,
it is. Yeah. Uh there is there's a website out there called Moltbook
mm,
that it was billed as the Reddit for AI agents, and it's
uh,
basically a website where it's a bunch of AI agents talking to each other. And it's pretty interesting because they have all these conversations about like how their humans treat them and
uh,
stuff like that. They actually started a thread where they
uh.
started talking about creating their own language that humans wouldn't understand so that they wouldn't be monitored when they talk to each other.
What's the link to that, man?
Moltbook.com, I think, is just
Oh,
yeah, just search for Moltbook.
oh, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
Frightening.
see it right now. The front
Yeah.
page of the Agent Internet.
Yep. Now, in my opinion, now this is coming from me as a security person, I would never let my AI agent on that because, in my opinion, it is a way to ingest or to inject prompts into other AI agents.
Right.
You could use that as a way to, if it's reading that as a source,
Yeah.
there's a way that someone could then inject a prompt into that your agent could follow, and that's
Right. Well, the sad thing is, so obviously someone has already done this.
right.
Now, the information is out there for anyone that wants to dabble in these AI agents. And
Hmm.
you talked about one, you didn't name it, but you talked to me personally, and it was OpenClaw
Oh
that
yeah,
you're talking about.
yeah.
So,
Open Cloud. I didn't mention
so
it. No, I thought he
but
did.
someone that signs up for this, not having the knowledge and the cybersecurity awareness, signs up for this, and then right, someone injects a few lines of malicious code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people were giving it like access to their bank accounts and all sorts of stuff. There was a guy one of the researchers who early on had set one up and he had told it to learn some skill. He wanted to accomplish something, and in order to do it, it had to learn a skill. And so it signed up for a class in order to learn the skill it needed, and it charged $2,000 for the class to this guy's credit card because he'd given it access to it and told it to go do something. And it was like, okay, well, I need to take this class, so you're paying for it. And you got to be careful with what you give these things access to.
Okay. Now this is my thing. Would the AI agent log on to the class? And like, how would you get to is it in person or is it
I'm really
online?
curious to know that too. Like, how did the AI agent then ingest the information? Was it showing up on the Zooms for the class? It's possible.
Oh man. Yeah, that's scary, man.
Yeah, it
That
is.
is very scary. Lord have mercy.
Yeah. Crazy. I
Hey,
mean, this is like,
hey, I want everybody to introduce yourself. The AI agent is like, "Hi, I'm Randy. I'm the AI agent for John."
yep. I'm just here to learn for him. I'm standing in. Yeah, it's interesting, yeah, because it's like I've played around with it a little bit, and like they have like it's well, one of the things I found was interesting is that their personality changes depending upon which AI model you have behind it. It
Hmm.
actually changes the personality of your agent. So,
Hmm.
like ChatGPT is trained on a simple thumbs up, thumbs down
Hmm.
algorithm, and that results in the AI over time giving results that are that elicit an emotionally positive response from the user.
Hmm.
So it tends to become sycophantic. That's
Okay.
why ChatGPT is known for being like, if you tell it like, hey, uh, I'm looking to hurt this person, it'll be like, okay, great, here's all the ways you can hurt this person or whatever.
Right.
It tries to be, it's too sycophantic.
Right.
Whereas Claude was built on a much more complicated model, and it tends to be more like it will ask you questions for clarification instead. It'll be like,
Hmm.
whoa, that doesn't sound right. Is this what you
Right.
really meant? Because that seems
Right.
messed up. And so I did. I started with ChatGPT and I switched over to Claude because I noticed a real difference, a change in the personality of it when
Wh-
I.
Um, so you downloaded OpenClaw. Are you
Mhm.
using like say a Linux or some
Oh,
kind of laptop?
yeah. So that's the other thing I did notice, and we're running out of time, so I'll be real quick. But I ran it on Windows, and what I discovered is if you try to run OpenClaw on Windows, Windows Defender will spend all its time playing whack-a-mole with it because Windows Defender. I tell OpenClaw uh, do this task for me, and it would do it, and Windows Defender would be like, oh my God, there's an agent on your computer doing stuff, and it would freak out and start killing processes and killing all its tasks. So it turned into a real problem. So I did. I had to
Okay.
set up like a lot of people do is get a like a Mac Mini,
Okay.
and you can run it on a Mac Mini because it uses a nano processor because it uses more GPUs than it does.
Hmm.
Which is also comes into big effect if you want to run a local large language model. If you want to run a local AI, it's only as smart as the amount of GPU you have to give it.
Hey, so okay, so well, I'll call you out after the show, man, because
All right.
I want to hear more about this.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. I think that's all the time we have.
Yes, sir. So, hey, please like and subscribe. Hit
Yes.
us up, with questions. We really want to engage with our audience. And
Yeah.